Josh Edwards, CBS Sports, NFL draft writer. We usually talk to him around draft time, but good time to circle back now. Hey, man, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, we usually are talking about the NFL draft, which unfortunately is often too relevant in the market.
Yeah.
But looking at how the season progresses is a very big part of those draft evaluations, trying to determine what teams need. So I've always got a pulse on what the Saints are doing, and happy to talk about them with you today.
Yeah. Go back and remind us, if you would, Josh, what your evaluation was on Tyler Shough coming out of Louisville.
To be honest, I was lower on him. Obviously, he was an older quarterback prospect. He was somebody that had dealt with extensive injuries throughout his collegiate career. So it was kind of a smaller sample size despite him being in college for so long. So it was a little bit difficult to get a full read on him in that regard. I thought he was inconsistent throwing the ball downfield, but I thought what we saw this past week was pretty encouraging. I thought, what we had seen from his first exposure 2 weeks ago was kind of up and down, which you would expect from a rookie quarterback. But seeing what he did this past weekend, I think he looks a little bit more settled. He looks a little bit more comfortable in the offense. And I think there's, some hope to believe that he could be something for this franchise.
So that's kind of the question is, what are the things? By the way, Josh, real quick, do you have us on speaker? If you could pick up the handset, it's just a little hollow. If you could, I'd appreciate it. What did you see specifically from him? Because that's the question, right? I could look at his stat line, but they also scored 17 points. They're playing Carolina. So what did you see that actually looks projectable?
Well, I think first of all, he's a player that has a professional pedigree in the sense that he's got that ideal frame that you look for, but the way that he was manipulating the pocket, I thought the way that his eyes worked down the field, going through his progressions, just gave you a little bit of confidence as to how he was seeing the field. To your point, yes, it is a Carolina defense that was historically one of the worst that we had seen in the NFL last year, but has taken marginal strides this year with some of the talent that they have added. So it has to be taken with a grain of salt. But I just think the comfort that we saw from him in the pocket, his ability to kind of maneuver and, get around the pocket to find some open windows to attack, this Panthers secondary with a Saints receiver room that had lost Rashid Shaheed, was just something that you would hope to see from a rookie, making his second appearance.
He's on Twitter at EdwardsCBS. Give him a follow at EdwardsCBS. Josh Edwards is with us here. Hey, I'm sure you've already started the 2026 quarterback draft evaluation. That's kind of been a big topic here, right? Depending on how the final 7 games go for Shuck or the Saints, who are probably going to be picking somewhere there around the top 5. Are they going to be in the market for a quarterback? What do you see in this quarterback class so far?
It's interesting because what we had seen prior to the season is really nothing of what the picture looks like currently.
Yeah.
In the sense that, of course, Garrett Nussmeier was one that was highly thought of, Lenore Sellers at South Carolina, Arch Manning at Texas. Those players have been volatile throughout the season, so I think they've given way to some other guys that, are making the most of their first extended opportunity. Dante Moore at Oregon, you've got Ty Simpson at Alabama, Fernando Mendoza at Indiana now. I think you've seen them all play on elevated platforms in high-leverage football games. They have made some big-time plays in critical moments for their teams this year, and I think all 3 of them have positioned themselves to be top 10 overall prospects, which is not something that I would have expected, just a couple of months ago. But all 3 of those guys have eligibility to return if they choose to do so next season. But I think if you're a guaranteed top 5 pick, top 10 pick, it would be difficult for any team to match the NIL type package that it would take to, compensate for a player to return to college for another season. So it's going to be really interesting, but I think this group stacks up pretty strongly, certainly better than what last year's class ended up being.
Wait, Josh, I don't want to miss that point. You were saying it would be difficult for a team to match the NIL package. Are you saying that it would be more fiscally responsible for a player to return to school or to go top 10 in the NFL?
There's a couple of ways to look at
it.
Obviously, you're going to get a lot more money if you choose to go to the NFL over returning to college football if you have confidence in yourself. If you're somebody that believes you're going to have a long-time career in the NFL, then you theoretically want to get to your first contract sooner. So that's something to consider as well. If you're somebody that's already thinking ahead to your second contract where historically that's where rookies are going to make the biggest amounts of money in their career, and you're that type of player, then I think it makes sense to go ahead and start that clock and jump to the NFL as soon as you're ready.
Yeah. Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik, a couple others we were talking about before the season that are, I don't know if you, I mean, it seems like they've probably had their stock drop as well.
Without question. Klubnik was not necessarily as high for me coming into the year.
Okay.
I did have Aller a little bit higher, still not, within that first round grade, but somebody that was obviously intriguing. So disappointing the way his season progressed, but two more names that were a part of that quarterback class in the summer that are not necessarily as big of factors as they are now.
Does this mean, Josh, that maybe the strength in this draft class at quarterback is going to be the depth, because some guys that would seemingly have a really high ceiling are going to be available late first round or possibly in day two?
Potentially, because then you're talking about a Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati, rather. You're talking about possibly Josh Hoover from TCU, Lenore Sellers from South Carolina, if he does choose to come out. I think those are probably three players that are kind of in that next tier. Now, again, all of them have eligibility and could return, so that's something to take into consideration.
Sure.
Obviously, it's a little bit more intriguing to those players if you're not going to be a guaranteed top 10 pick and could potentially get a very lucrative package in college football, which I'm sure Miami and Oregon and some other teams could potentially be putting those together as we speak. But there's going to be some intriguing options, I think, in the back end of the first round, possibly into the second round, just depending on what those players elect to do.
Yeah, LSU is going to be in that mix as well for an NIL quarterback, no doubt. Hey, let me so let's say, play this hypothetical with me, Josh. So if the Saints, let's say they end up picking top 10, which I think we all think that they will. I mean, as excited as people are about the one game from Tyler Shough, this is still not a very good team. So they pick top 10, maybe even top 5, but they're committed to Shuck. So they're going to look somewhere else there in that top 10. This is a team that kind of needs everything, right? You got aging linebackers. You're not very good at corner. Everybody could use an edge rusher. Cam Jordan's aging. They need a dominant receiver. Who are some of the prospects outside of the quarterbacks that are going to be the top prospects in this draft that could check any of those boxes?
Yeah, and to your larger points, perhaps there's an opportunity to trade down and get multiple picks where you're able to have multiple bites at the apple. I think that would be something that New Orleans would have to consider as well if that ends up playing out. But to your question, Jordan Tyson, a wide receiver from Arizona State, somebody that, is kind of like Jackson Smith and Jigba type size, somebody that, plays through the catch a little bit. He's more grounded. He's somebody that's going to be able to create yards after the catch for you. Then you've got Carnell Tate, who at Ohio State has played on a big platform and, made a lot of plays for them. He's somebody that can win balls down the field, 6'3", a little bit bigger in size. Chris Bell from Louisville is somebody that's incredibly explosive after the catch, but also has plus size. Casey Concepcion, a wide receiver from Texas A&M, is somebody that's going to be in that group as well. And then Makai Lemon from USC is somebody that's going to be in that group as well, kind of a smaller body type in relation to the others that we're mentioning. Not really a strong tight end class at the top. Running back, there's Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, of course, but I think the depth is probably stronger behind him than necessarily having those top-tier blue-chip type running backs in this class. And then, offensive line, I think, is kind of up and down from what we've seen this season. I know that's obviously been something that the Saints have been drawn to over the past decade, taking offensive linemen.
Enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop missing on linemen. Stop missing on linemen.
To varying degrees of success, I must say. But, it's an interesting draft. There's a handful of guys that I think you can really get excited about, Tyson and Tate being a couple of those players. But, I think the Saints are going to have a lot of opportunities and be set up fairly well if Shuck ends up developing into the quarterback that they hope he can be.
Last thing, the rookie class that the Saints, they drafted 9 players, and you're seeing a lot of those guys on the field sort of out of necessity. After Shuck, I mean, we're seeing Kelvin Banks at left tackle. Do you have a general feel on how this rookie class has fared? Because, I mean, just because you're playing doesn't mean you're playing well. You could be playing out of necessity. So a thought on how this rookie class is doing so far?
Well, I really like Kelvin Banks. Obviously, again, being a rookie, there's some volatile play, a little bit up and down, but I do think that he's generally been technically sound. So I think there's at least reason to believe that he's going to be a consistent presence for them on the left side. Jonas Sanker, I think we've seen flashes from him as well. He's done some good things in the secondary. But one thing with having a team that has so many needs is that a lot of these guys are being thrust into the equation a little bit sooner than maybe they would in other scenarios. And that can be good and bad. Playing experience is incredibly valuable for young players in the NFL. So the Saints are getting an opportunity now to go through those live interviews, those live evaluations, and really identify what this team needs moving forward. Because obviously they've, pushed their chips to the middle of the table and they've kicked the can down the road, whatever metaphor you want to use in terms of the financial implications over the past decade. But like you said, this is a team that has a lot of needs. And I think with so many of those young players, this is, an incredibly valuable opportunity for them to prove themselves.
He's Josh Edwards from CBS on Twitter at EdwardsCBS. Give him a follow. Dude, we'll certainly be bothering you much more as we get closer to and through draft season, man. We always appreciate the time. Thank you.
Of course, anytime.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.